So good morning, everybody. Nice to be here with you. And so for several weeks, many weeks now, we've been working with breath, and I think it's really important to continue with this theme. Hear from people fairly regularly that with everything going on in the world, stress levels are high. A lot of folks have been telling me they're having insomnia, so either not being able to get to sleep at night or waking up at that 1:32, 3 in the morning kind of thing, and kind of tossing and turning and your mind racing and all of those things. And I think it's a consequence of so much information coming at us pretty consistently, and much of that information is disquieting at the very least. So finding some tools to help us sort of regulate our responses to what's coming in is really the best thing that we can do, because we can't really have a direct impact on what's going on in the world and what's coming at us. And we certainly don't have a direct impact into the global pandemic. But what we can control, and this is sort of at the heart of yogic teaching, yogic philosophy, what we can control are our responses to things. So there's two ways that we interact with our world. We either react to things, which means we're not giving it a whole lot of thought. Something comes up and, I just have this big response, or I have this big reaction to it. The other way is to respond to what's going on, and that takes some conscious effort. That takes a consistent practice in mindfulness. And what I mean by that is when something comes at me and I feel that moment of upset, so whether I feel it coming up from my belly, or I feel it in my chest, or I feel it in my head, or wherever I sort of feel that physical manifestation, I can let that kind of erupt in a way that I'm not aware of and that I don't have control over, or I can sit with the feeling of that. There's always a physical feeling to an emotional kind of interaction with things. So I can sit with that physical feeling. I can breathe into it. And this is where breathing becomes really important, because quite often when that physical feeling comes up, whether it's upset or distress or anxiety or anger, my breath starts to get a lot shallower, because that anger or anxiety takes up a whole lot of space in my chest, and I can't get a full breath. So if I simply shift out of the reactive mode into a breathing mode, then I realize that there's some distance between me and what's happening, and then I have a choice about what I do about it. And what I do about it is respond in a more constructive way, whether that's a constructive way that I can actually do something to change my immediate situation, or in a constructive way where I'm protecting myself, I'm taking care of myself, and I'm not allowing myself to kind of get wrapped up. So this breathing technique that we've been doing for the past several weeks, and what we're going to do again today, this is also really effective for that kind of insomnia that happens for us. If we can just kind of get into our breathing, forget about everything else, the anxiety about not sleeping. And I know this myself. Sometimes I'll lie awake at night and I'll watch myself trying to sleep, and that makes me more anxious. And it's like, wow, this is like the snake eating its tail, right? There is no beginning and no end. So the best way to break this little cycle is to just simply shift into your breathing, just like we do in yoga class, just paying attention to the way air is moving in and out of the body. So again, I want to continue on this journey with the breath a little bit longer, because it really has implications far beyond just sitting here in our chairs and doing some exercises and stretches. It has implications into our lives, and we can take that and hopefully improve the quality of our lives. So with that said, let's get comfortably seated up near the front edge of the chair. And you can do that with your shoes on or with your shoes off. If you have a chair without arms on it, that would be preferable to one with arms, but whatever you've got right now. And then notice the contact between your feet and the floor. So whether you're in shoes or not, again, it doesn't really matter, but see if you can somehow spread your toes out a little bit, create some space in there. Lift them up off the floor maybe. If you're out of your shoes, it's a little bit easier to feel this. And then just lay them down with a little bit of width between the toes. And now that's easier for some folks than others. You might have some toes that cross over. You might have a bunion that kind of shifts your big toe in. So just do the best you can without creating any stress there in your feet. And now notice your hands. If your hands are resting on your lap, notice if you've got some tension in your fingers or in the palms of your hands, and see if you can just relax the tension there. And for many of us, we're leaning forward, right? So kind of leaning forward, because I was just looking at my feet. So of course I'm leaning forward. So we're just going to kind of sit back a little bit and think about lining your head up with your shoulders and your shoulders up with your hips. So you've got this nice kind of straight alignment here. Okay, now bring your attention to your face, because this is a place where many of us hold a lot of tension, specifically your jaw. So open your mouth, kind of move your bottom jaw or your jaw around a little bit, your bottom teeth. And then just let your mouth close, but try not to bring your teeth together, right? So try not to clench down. And that's a pretty standard way that many of us close our mouths. We close the mouth and then we kind of clench the teeth a little bit. So see if you can create some space between the upper teeth and the lower teeth. And let your tongue be relaxed in the bottom of your mouth. Okay, now if it's comfortable, close your eyes. If you'd rather not close your eyes, that's okay. Just drop your gaze down at the floor, or try and shut out anything that's around you. Sometimes we can get distracted visually if there's something going on. If there are other people in the house, we can get distracted, you know, hearing other sounds and things. So that's why closing the eyes sometimes just sort of brings everything into nice focus here. And now just notice how you're breathing. You don't have to change anything about the way you're breathing, not yet. Just notice how the air is moving in and out of your body. So the first thing to notice is, are you breathing in and out through your nose? If you're having difficulty breathing, it's been very, very hot the last few days, and it can be a little tough to get a full deep breath. So see if you can breathe in through your nose, and if it's more comfortable, breathe out through pursed lips like you're blowing out a candle. So again, breathing in through your nose if at all possible. Breathing out through your nose or out through pursed lips. Now notice if your breath is shallow or deep. Does it feel like you're breathing all the way into your belly, or does it feel like you're breathing just into the upper part of your rib cage or up near your collarbones? And notice if your breath is fast or slow. Again, you are not changing anything quite yet. We're just noticing. That's the most effective way to make changes, to notice what is. And notice if there's a sound to your breath. So sometimes we breathe in a really kind of heavy way, pardon me, and we make kind of a, kind of that kind of sound. So notice if you're sort of laboring with your breathing. See if you can make your breath a little quieter. So we're going to start changing things very slowly right now with the breathing. And I'm going to ask you to see if you can make your breath really, really quiet. And while your breath remains quiet, see if you can deepen it a little bit. So if you're breathing into the upper part of your chest, or you're breathing into just kind of your ribs, see if you can pull it all the way down toward your belly. And remember, it's going to be a quiet breath. So sometimes when we shift into that deep breathing, we get back to that kind of labored sound in the breath. So see if you can keep it quiet and deep. And you'll notice In order to keep it quiet and deep, the breath has to get longer. In other words, it needs to take more time to get in and out. I can do a deep breath really noisily and get it in and out quick. But I can't do a quiet breath that's deep and get it in and out quick. It's going to be slow. As you're breathing deeply and quietly, notice if you've created some tension in your face in order to make that happen, and choose to relax the muscles around your eyes. Choose to relax the muscles of your jaw so that your upper teeth and lower teeth come apart a little bit. Breathing in and out quietly, release the tension in your neck, the right side, the left side, the front and the back. Breathing in and out quietly, release the tension in your shoulders, the shoulder tops, the sides, the back, the front. And with each subsequent breath, see if you can get a little deeper. Can you pull the air way down deep in your body, filling your lungs as completely as you can? And when you breathe out, can you stay with that exhalation until you feel like every drop of breath that might be kind of hanging out in the lungs, until every drop is out of the body? So we're doing this deep, quiet breath, relaxing the body. And notice if your inhalations and exhalations are the same length, or if you're inhaling a little longer, or you're exhaling a little longer. It's just a noticing of the breath. So long, slow, deep inhalations and exhalations, quiet breath, and noticing the length of each breath in and each breath out. Let's see if we can start to make the out breath a little bit longer than the in breath. So one way to do that is to add a count to the breath. So as we inhale, count slowly in your head to 4. And as we exhale, count slowly in your head to 5. I'm going to repeat this with every inhalation. See if you can count slowly to 4. And with each exhalation, count slowly to 5. If it's possible, extend the exhalation to a count of 6. Keep the inhalation at 4 and extend the exhalation to a count of 6. Long, slow, deep, quiet breaths. Inhaling to 4 and exhaling to 6. Investigating tension in the physical body around the face, the jaw, the neck, the shoulders. letting go of tension in the arms and legs, the hands and feet, the back, the belly. Breathing into 4, breathing out to 6. Two more breaths in and out, taking your time. Breathing into 4 and out to 6. And when you've completed that second exhalation, return to your natural breath. So let go of the counting, forget about needing to pull the air down into your belly. Just go back to whatever is natural for you. And notice if there's something a little bit different about your breathing right now. Let your eyes gently open. And just notice your sense of presence. Notice how you feel, not just in your body, but notice how you feel sort of emotionally and mentally right now, if there's been a little bit of a shift in that feeling. So we're going to continue with a round, smooth breath throughout the whole practice. And we'll start with a little bit of work for the hands this morning. So if you want to just take your hands and we'll squeeze and extend the fingers. And you can do this as gently as you like, especially if you've got some tenderness in the joints, something a little bit achy. Some of you maybe have been gardening. Maybe this weather, it kind of gets to the joints and makes them feel a little bit more inflamed. Maybe you've been doing more crafts and things, using your hands, maybe on the computer. So we're just squeezing and extending the fingers, getting a little bit of work in here. And then let's just take the hands now and we're gonna flip the hands down and up from the wrist. Right? So we're just going down and up. If you extend your elbows, you'll feel that more into your arms, up near your elbows and above. If you bend your elbows, you'll feel it pretty much just in the wrist and the hands and the forearm a little bit. And for some of us, for whatever's going on in the hands, having the bent elbow feels a little more effective. For others of us, having the elbows straighter feels a little more effective. And for some of us, we could do 1 and 1, right? So isn't that kind of cool? Good, excellent. So let's circle at the wrist now. And see if instead of just making circles, you can make a figure 8, right? So think about figure 8 with your wrists. And maybe have a look at your hands and notice what they're doing. They're likely going in opposing directions, most of us, some of us not. And now see, is it possible to reverse that? That takes a little thought, because that's not the way I normally move my hands. Go back to the non-thinking way. All right, see how easy that is. And then switch and go to the way that you have to think. And notice that that gets a little more complicated. And notice your breath when you switch. Does your breath get shallow? Does it get a little choppy? Have you forgotten all about it completely? Yeah. Okay, let's shake out the hands a little bit here. And then we're going to take the right hand, extend it out. Take your left hand and pull back on your fingers. Now, if you can, keep your elbow straight and keep your hand down toward your knee. Let's everybody bring the hand down toward the knee. Yeah, it's a little bit easier on that poor shoulder. So we're just kind of pulling back again. If you've got joints in there that are unhappy with this, just don't pull back quite as far. Maybe come down into the palm of your hand a little bit more, but this is a good way to stretch out the palmar side of the hand. That's this palm side of your hand here, right? And then we're going to bring the fingers down and then press on the back of the hand, not on the fingers, but on the back of the hand. Again, kind of keeping the elbow straight and the shoulder. See if it's up here by your ear. See if you can lower that down a little bit. So we're just going to breathe in and breathe out. And we'll let that go and circle that wrist around a little bit. Take the left hand, bring it out in front like you're saying stop, and pull back on the fingers. Once again, having the hand a little lower than the shoulder or down toward the knee. I like to have mine down toward the knee because then that just kind of gives me the cue. It can tend to creep up a little bit when I have it up here. So if it's down here, I get the cue not to let that shoulder creep up. Breathing in and breathing out. So I'm stretching the palm side of the hand, stretching the palm side of the fingers. And this needs a bit of stretching because our fingers tend to curl a little bit, right? Especially with some of the work that we do. And then let's release that and bring the palm down toward, the fingers down toward the floor and press on the back side of your hand. So not on your fingers, don't pull on your fingers, but pull on the back side of your hand. So we're going to get a stretch here across the wrists into the forearm. If your elbow is straight, you're going to feel that stretch up into your upper arm a little bit, maybe, depending on where you're tight. If you're super tight in your wrist, your stretch is going to stay right there because that's the tissue that needs to be stretched. If you're a little tighter up here in the elbow or in the upper arm, with your elbow straight, you're going to feel a little more that way. And then let's release that and circle that around a little bit. Okay, we're going to do a little bit more work for the hands here. So take your hands and bring them up sort of, actually, let's start this way. So bring your arms extended out to the sides with your palms up and your fingers facing the ceiling. So it's like you're saying stop on either side of you. Right now, notice if you're leaning forward, see if you can lean back a little bit. And now what we're going to do is we're going to bend the elbows, make a little swan neck with your wrists and bring the backs of your wrists as close to your shoulders as you can go. And then extend that stop sign, right? So we're just coming in and out, in and out. So this is stretching the muscles and the tendons, which are the tendons attach the muscles to the bones. So we're giving a little stretch here and we're working out those tendons a little bit in the hands and arms. And we're also giving a little bit of support to the nerves in the arms, which we sometimes don't pay a whole lot of attention to. But this is called a nerve glide exercise. So we're actually working that median nerve in the arm a little bit more. Great, just a couple more. Excellent, and then let's shake that out. Okay, take your right hand down by your side. We're gonna extend the arm and then we're gonna bring that arm out to the side and all the way up overhead. Bend your elbow and see if you can place the palm of your hand on the side of your face. And then extend and come all the way up and down. This is a little bit tricky, so we're going to do this a few times. So breathe in as you bring the arm all the way up, bend the elbow, bring the palm or side of your hand toward your face, and then see if you can place it under your chin or on your face like that. Great, and then extend and come all the way up. So once again, we're working the muscles, the tendons, and we're getting a little bit of work for that nerve, for the nerves as well. Okay, a couple more. Great. Now notice if you're doing this all with your shoulder or if you're actually able to do this with your arm muscles. Last one, you guys. Let's come all the way up. Palm on the face and down. Great. Let's switch right over to that left side. So arm comes out and up. Bend the elbow, palm goes to the face. And I'm not going too close to my face because I keep touching my ear pod here. If that falls out, you won't be able to hear me. So if you can get your palm right on the side of your head, the side of your face, go ahead and do that. So we're inhaling and exhaling. Now for some folks, this seems really easy. For other folks, this is pretty challenging. One more. Great. And back down. Okay, so take a moment, just notice what you feel in your arms and shoulders, your wrists and hands, your neck. Okay, we've got one more arm exercise to do. So this time you're going to take your first finger and your thumb together on your right side. So right hand, we're going to bring that arm out to the side and all the way up. We're going to bend the elbow like you're going to bring the palm of your hand to your face, but instead come up and make a little spyglass around that right eye. And then come all the way up and down. Now again, this is a little bit tricky, so keep the finger and the thumb together. And you want the palm side of your hand to be touching your face, not this way, but this way. Oh, and up and around. Now you might notice that your breathing has gotten very shallow, or maybe it's disappeared, or maybe it's gotten faster. So we're trying to learn something new, right? Even if you've done this with me before, I'm willing to bet you haven't done it for a little while, so your brain hasn't quite gotten it down to rote kind of movement. So let's let this be the last one. Beautiful. I'm going to switch right over to the left side. So thumb and first finger. Breathe in, breathe out, going at your own pace. Extending the arm. So what extending and sweeping the arm out, that does two things. One, it creates a little more space in the joints, and it gives the muscles a little bit of an opportunity to stretch. But the second thing is it provides a little flourish, right? So it's just kind of fun to do, to make it grand and dramatic. And what that does, now as crazy as this might sound, when we make grand dramatic moves, our brains tend to remember those better than if it's just sort of a boring routine kind of thing. So I like to make things grand so that my brain really remembers. Let's do this as our last one on this side. Good. Okay, so now take both hands. Let's see if we can make this really dramatic. Fingers and thumbs together. Let's go out to the sides, up and around, and see if you can make eyeglasses. Woo. And then release that, come all the way up and down. Let's do that one more time because that was really fun. Up, bend the elbows, make eyeglasses. Remember that your palms are facing your face. Breathing in, breathing out, and then we'll come all the way up and all the way down. Great job. Let's shake that all out a little bit. Okay, take the palms of your hands together. Now the heels of your hands, that's right down here near where your wrists are. You're going to keep the heels of your hands together. Spread your fingers wide, and then see if you can bring your fingers together so that there's really good contact there, right? So here's that view from this side. So fingers are spread nice and wide. Palms of the hands are together, heels of the hands stay together, and we're just going to breathe in and out. Keeping the hands in this kind of orientation, we're going to bring the arms up, see if you can get the elbows close together, and then bring the arms all the way down. So let's just go up and down. Beautiful. Now some people are going to get the elbows really close, and some people are not going to get the elbows very close. Some of us are going to be able to get the elbows close to a certain point, and then if we raise the arms a little higher, the elbows have to come apart. So we're just going up as high as we can and down as low as we can. Don't let the heels of the hands come apart, and don't let your fingers come back together, right? Because they're spread out nice and wide. So we're doing this movement. Yeah, notice your neck and your jaw and your face. Notice your upper back. Is this creating some stress there? Let's do two more of these. Notice your breath. Oh. And last one, coming all the way up and all the way down. Beautiful. Release your hands, let them rest on your lap. Close your eyes for a moment. Let's redirect the attention back to the breath. How is the air moving in and out of your body? Is it fast or slow? Is it shallow or deep? Can you feel your heartbeat? And can you notice a connection, a link between the rhythm of your breathing and the rhythm of your heart? In other words, if your heart's beating fast, you notice that your breath is kind of fast. And if your heart is beating a little slower, can you notice that your breathing is also a little slower? Let your eyes drift open. Good. And then we're going to shift gears and move down into the lower part of the body as we extend the right leg, have the heel on the floor, and we're going to squeeze and extend the toes. Squeezing and extending toes. Now, as you're doing this, you might look down at your foot and notice how your foot works. How do those toes squeeze and how do they extend? Do they come apart, the toes that is? Do they separate from each other? Or are there a couple that kind of, they're like twins, they stay together? And then let's start to point and flex the foot. And as we point and flex the foot, you might notice that your posture gets a little slouchy. So you want to sit up nice and tall. If you're too far back in your chair, you'll feel that in the back of that leg, and we don't want to do that. Okay, and then let's circle at the ankle. So coming up around and reverse direction. Breathing in and breathing out the whole while. Heel comes to the floor, toes are reaching up toward the ceiling. Now both hands on your left thigh and lift up through your spine as you breathe in, and as you breathe out, hinge forward from your hips like you're trying to bring your navel down onto your hands, where your hands are on that thigh, and then come all the way back up. So we're going forward and backward, keeping the toes lifted toward the shin. And don't let the toes come into a point. Good. Great, and the next time that you come forward, we're gonna hold here and take your right hand from your left thigh, slide it down your right leg toward your toes. Now, if you can reach your toes without rounding through your back, go ahead and do that. If you start to round through your back, so see, I can grab my toes, but look how rounded my back becomes. So I'm gonna keep my back nice and flat, and I'm gonna bring my hand down. Now I'm gonna get maybe, I'm fairly close to my ankle, but not much more than that. And then I'll start to round. And that's a very subtle place, right? So see if you can breathe in and out as you're here. Well, hopefully you're breathing in and out. See if you can breathe in and out slowly and deeply as you're here. And as you inhale and exhale, because we're in this forward position, notice if you can feel movement in the back of your body. So can you feel the breath expanding the back of your body? And then we're going to take that right hand back to the thigh, push into your hands, coming all the way up. We're going to bend that right knee and bring the foot back to the floor. I'm going to shift over to the other side now. So extend your left leg, have your heel on the floor, and we'll start with the toes, just squeezing and extending toes. Squeezing and extending. And look at this foot. Now, does it work differently than the other foot? Chances are it does. So even though we think our bodies are totally symmetric, you know, the hands are the same, the feet are the same, you know, it's just a matter of right and left. Quite often we have some differences that when we really look at those differences, they can be pretty significant. So let's start to point and flex the foot from the ankle. Again, noticing the posture, making sure you don't kind of come into that slouchy position with your spine. Just tapping your heel and tapping your toes. Breathing in and breathing out, coming into that awareness of the breath and seeing if you can make your breath round and smooth. Excellent. And then we'll start to circle around at the ankle. And reverse direction. Great, and then have the heel on the floor so the toes are reaching up toward the shin. Take both hands over to your right thigh. Inhale and lengthen through your spine, and then as you exhale, you're going to come forward like you're trying to bring your navel down onto your hands. So we're going to come forward and back several times. So the movement is happening at the hips. We're not rounding through the spine. We're not trying to bring the nose down onto the knee. We're simply trying to bring the navel, the belly button, down onto the thigh. So I might not be able to come as far forward if I maintain that nice posture in the spine. Great. The next time that you come forward, you're going to hold here and breathe. So once again, try to keep your back nice and lifted and lengthened. The movement is happening from right here in the hip where the the leg and the hip kind of meet, and then take your left hand, slide it down your left leg. So maybe you get to the knee and that's it. Maybe you get down to the shin and that's it. Maybe you can actually reach your toes on this side without rounding through your spine. Chances are most of us are not going to actually be able to reach the toes without rounding. So once again, I'll just kind of demonstrate. I can grab my toes. Let's see how I just rounded my spine, especially that left shoulder. It really came forward. That's different than this, right? So this is shoulders nice and straight, back nice and straight. This is rounding through that side of the body. Actually, it's rounding and twisting. So it's really not very helpful for what I'm trying to get at here. Breathing in and breathing out. Let's shift into that long, slow, deep, and quiet breath. And you might be noticing as you hold here and breathe that you actually are more comfortable in this position. Places that were feeling a stretch. Maybe you even come a little farther forward, or maybe you stay right where you are. Okay, let's take that left hand over to the right thigh, and then we're going to push into the hands and come all the way up. Bend that knee, bring that foot back down to the floor. Let's take a moment here and just notice your legs, notice your feet, notice your hips. We did a little bit of work for the hips. I'm going to refocus back down into the toes again. So this time we're going to be working with both feet at the same time. So if you don't have your shoes off at this point, you might want to just kick your shoes off just for a couple of minutes, because this is going to be all about the toes. So look down at your toes. Just really give them a good once over. Notice where there are spaces between the toes, and notice where there are no spaces, maybe crossover between the toes. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to lift all the toes off the floor. Just the toes though, not the balls of the foot. So this is the ball of the foot here. We're going to keep that on the floor along with the heel, and we're just going to lift all the toes. Spread your toes nice and wide as you possibly can. And then keeping all your toes lifted, take just your big toes and press them down into the floor. And then lift them all up. And again, we're just going to be pressing the big toes down and then lifting, but trying not to let all the other toes follow the big toes, right? So they all stay lifted on their own. So you're pressing and lifting the big toes only. And notice what's happened to your breath. Notice if your breath has gotten really shallow. Maybe you went, oh, I forgot all about that part of it. So see if you can deepen your breathing. And that might not make your toe flexibility any better, but it's just going to change your response to it. So you're not stressed. If you're looking at your toes and the big toes are not moving independently of the other toes, you might be feeling a little stressed that you're not able to do that. And really, does it matter? No. What matters is your response to that. So just breathing in and breathing out. Next time you lift all the toes, let's hold them there. Okay. So just notice if that was difficult for you, or if that was relatively easy. Because some of us are going to have one experience, some of us are going to have a different experience. And now keep your big toes lifted and see if you can place all the other toes on the floor. Not the big toes though, just all the other toes. And then lift. So if you look down at your feet, you might be able to convince them with that visual contact to lower and lift. So we're just lowering and lifting all the toes except for the big toes. And once again, notice your breath. Notice what's happened with your breath. If this is really challenging for you, it's quite likely that your breath has gotten pretty shallow. If this is really easy, you might just be cruising along and your breathing is nice and smooth and nothing has interrupted that. So just a couple more of these, keeping those big toes lifted, getting all those other toes on the floor. Okay, and then let's relax the toes for a minute. Now, relax your neck and your jaw, because quite likely, if you found some of this difficult, you transferred some of that tension up into your neck and your jaw, maybe even into your shoulders. So breathe in and out. Okay, and then let's do this again. Let's raise all the toes up and spread them nice and wide. And then let's see if we can place the little toes on the floor. That's the baby toes, the ones on the outside, just the baby toes. And then see if you can place the next toes. And then the next toes. And the next, and then finally the big toes. So it's kind of like you're playing the piano, right? One toe at a time. And now lift your big toes only. And then the next, and the next, and the next, and finally those baby toes. Now, this can be quite challenging. We're going to try that again. So we're going to place just the baby toes on the floor first, and then the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. And lift just the big toes, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the babies. Good. Now, just to finish it off with a flourish, because remember what I said about a flourish. Your brain always remembers something big and dramatic. So take your baby toes to the floor, just those baby toes, and then just your big toes, but not all the ones in between. Success, right? Excellent. Let's move on. Let's lift all the toes and then bring your feet in a little bit. We're going to come up on the toes as we lift the heels and then lower the heels back down. And we're just going to go up and down a few times here. So this is just getting the toes back in sync with one another so they're a little bit more calibrated. Great. Okay, so scoot on over to the right side of your chair. Okay. And now if you have the room, hopefully, I'm going to slide over just a smidge here. So if you have the room, I'm going to have you extend your right leg, and then you're going to sweep it over to the right, and then sweep it back to the middle. So sweep and sweep and sweep and sweep. If you have a shoe on, this might be a little bit harder because your shoe might be kind of catching on the floor. Maybe next time, what we'll do is I'll prepare you. You can have a little towel or something to put under your foot so that you can slide. So a couple more. We're going to slide and sweep and sweep. And the next time you sweep out, let's stay swept out to the side. So your right leg is now swept out to the side. Your toes are facing the wall over there and reaching toward the floor. Okay. So maybe your toes are on the floor. Maybe your toes are not quite on the floor. That's okay. Go take the left hand and place it on the left side of your chair. Okay, take your right arm and we're going to sweep forward and come into a little twist to the left. And then we're going to sweep around to the right. Twist your whole body. So we have this foot extended, the leg extended, and we're sweeping the arm just about at shoulder height. So we're not going up above the head. We're just doing this at shoulder height. Breathing in, breathing out. Noticing if your breath is smooth, or if there's a little bit of a hitch to it. Okay. And then let's come back to that center position. We're going to take that right arm and slide it down the right leg. Now, as you slide your arm down your leg, make sure the muscles here in this leg are nice and strong and tight. And we're going to slide that arm down the leg and then see if you can take your left arm up off your chair and overhead. And then let's come all the way up as we slide the hand back up the leg. So we're just going to be doing this a few times, like a little bit of a gate pose here, right? Kind of going up and over. You can breathe in. I like to breathe in as I come up and over, and then breathe out as I come back. But you might like to breathe out as you come up and over, and breathe in as you come back. There is no right or wrong. It's whatever breath gives you the most ease in your body, right? So really what we're focusing on today is how the breath is influenced by the movement and how the movement is influenced by the breath. So let's just do this. The next time that you're over in that right bend, that right-sided bend, we're going to stay here. Bring that arm up past your ear if you can. Let's see if we can take a full deep breath here. If this is way too much, bring your arm down. It's fine to have your arm down in front here. There's no problem there. Or even to have the arm not involved at all, to have it on your hip is absolutely fine. Let's take one more breath. And then we're going to come up and over. Beautiful. Let's take that right leg. Let's sweep it back to the starting position. As you come back to starting position, scoot your backside to the center of your chair and then take your right leg, cross it on top of the left. Now, if you can cross knee on top of knee, go ahead and do that. If that doesn't work for you, if that's just not a position that's available in your body, you can cross ankle on top of ankle. So I'm going to demonstrate on this side the ankle on top of ankle, and then on the other side I'll do the knee so that you can see both. So as we've got the legs crossed here, what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze the inner thighs. So as you squeeze the inner thighs, you're kind of bringing the legs a little bit closer together here. Take your left hand to the outside of your right knee. Okay. Take your right arm, sweep it forward all the way up overhead. Bring it around behind you as you come into a twist, and bring that arm down till it touches the back of your chair, and then bring it all the way up and forward. So we're making a big arc. Now, if you can follow your right hand with your eyes, in other words, watch the hand as it makes this big arc up and over, that's great. If that doesn't work for you, do the best you can. So we're doing this just a couple more times. Great. Last time, we're going to come forward. Beautiful. Excellent. Okay. Let's take that leg now, and instead of, so relax the muscles in the inside of the thighs. Instead of having the knee crossed on top of the knee, now we're going to cross the ankle on top of the knee. For those of us who are already crossing at the ankle, we're going to stay in this position. And now what we're going to do is engage the muscles here in the outside of the leg and the outside of the hip, and pull that right knee toward the floor. So again, if you're crossed ankle on top of knee, you're pulling down toward the floor this way. If you're crossed ankle on top of ankle, you're pulling out this way. So place both hands on the left thigh and lift and lengthen through your spine. Now get nice and tall, especially through the neck. Quite often what we do is this, we tilt the chin up. So I'm going to ask you to keep your chin tilted slightly down and lengthen up through the crown of your head. Breathe in, breathe out. Keep pulling that knee toward the floor. Keep the breath smooth and stable. Beautiful. And then relax and release, and you're going to uncross that leg. And as you uncross that leg, extend both legs out in front, point your toes, hold on to your seat so you don't fall off. And then notice if your right leg is a little longer than your left leg. So as I'm looking at my toes, I've got a pretty significant difference in where my big toes are. My right big toe is a lot farther out than my left big toe. So we've got a little more space in the joints. We've got a little more length in the muscles, a little more length in the tendons here. So let's bring that happiness over to the left side. So if we want to scoot your backside over to the left side of your chair. And once again, you want to be on the edge of your chair, not so much that you might fall off, but just enough that you can kind of twirl this leg around. So pointing the toes, we're going to slide the leg out and slide the leg back. And keep on going. Breathing in and breathing out. Nice. So getting a little dusting done on the floor today. If you're on a hardwood floor, you're getting a little dusting done. If you're on a carpet, maybe you're getting a little exfoliation for your heel and your toes. That's always a good thing. And the next time that your leg is all the way out to the side, let's hold here. And once again, just kind of look out there. Make sure the muscles in the top part of the leg, those are the quadriceps muscles here above the knee, make sure those are nice and strong and engaged. And your toes are reaching toward the floor. Your toes might touch the floor. They might not touch the floor. And that's okay. It doesn't really matter which. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take the right hand to the chair. We're going to take the left arm, sweep it back and around. So we're doing this nice twist in the body, breathing in and breathing out. Great. Beautiful. So keep the leg muscles engaged. So we're doing a couple of different things at the same time. We're giving the brain a couple of different messages, a couple of different orders to follow. And sometimes that gets a little bit confusing, right? So when the brain doesn't quite know what to do with something, there's a little bit of a hitch. Okay, so let's take the arm out to the side. Now we're going to place that hand on that extended leg. And with the hand on the leg, we're simply going to slide over You can bring that arm down, and then we're going to come all the way back up. So that's the movement. If you'd like, you can take your right arm up and over and come back to center. So slow and steady. If you go fast, what ends up happening is you use the leverage in your right arm as it's up overhead to create momentum. So we're actually not exercising the muscles here in the side of the body. So it's these muscles right here in the right side of the body that we're targeting. We're trying to stretch them when we do this, and then we're trying to strengthen them when we come back. If I use my arm like a lever and I create momentum, I'm not getting that benefit. I look much better doing it because I can go farther and I can go faster, but I'm actually not getting the benefit of doing it. So notice your breath. Your breathing might be getting a little shallow, and that would be totally normal. And the next time that we go over, let's see if we can stay here just for a couple of breaths. This is pretty stressful for the heart and the lungs to be here. So if you need to lower your arm down a little bit, please feel free to do that. If you would rather not have your arm in this movement at all, you can have it on your hip. That's absolutely fine. For the rest of us, let's see if we can hold just for 2 more breaths. Breathing in and breathing out. Great, and then we're gonna come all the way up. Very nice, you guys. Now we're gonna take that left leg. We're gonna slide it back to the starting position, and as you do, scoot your backside to the center of your chair, and now take your left leg, cross it over your right. So on this side, I'm gonna demonstrate the knee on top of knee fashion that we're doing. So if you can, have your knee crossed on, your left knee crossed on top of your right knee. You can always cross at the ankle on this side as I did on the other side. Now pull the inner thighs together. So we're squeezing those muscles of the inner thighs. And as you pull your inner thighs together, you're sitting up nice and tall. You're gonna take your right hand to the outside of your left knee. Breathe in, breathe out. Take your left arm forwards. Now, if you can follow your hand as we're doing this, you're gonna bring your arm up, a nice big arc, sweep it around behind you, go all the way back there. And then let's come forward, up and back. Breathing in and breathing out, right? So again, this is a bit of a grand flourish, right? Yeah, let's make this as grand a flourish as possible because the brain is gonna remember this. The brain remembers the crazy stuff. That's why the advertisers who want us to buy products, they always make the advertisements a little bit cuckoo so that we remember. Those are the ones we remember. Think back to all the jingles that you might recall from all the different products that you've seen over your lifetime, right? Certain jingles stand out better than others, right? Certain jingles leave an impression. Let's go one more time up and back, you guys. This looks really good. Excellent. Beautiful. And then relax that arm. So now instead of crossing the knee on top of the knee, let's see if we can get the ankle, the left ankle on top of the knee. Again, if that doesn't work, ankle on ankle is just fine, okay? So as you're holding here, now we're gonna relaxing the muscles here on the inside of the leg. We're gonna be engaging muscles here in the outside of the leg and the outside of the hip. You're gonna pull that knee down toward the floor, breathing in and breathing out. So pulling that knee down toward the floor. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Now notice your posture. See if you can sit up nice and tall. So as you're pulling your knee toward the floor, you're trying to lift your head, trying to lift your ribs. Think about this, lifting your rib cage right up off of your hips, right? So it's like you're trying to lift from the center of your body. So the knee is pulling down toward the floor, the center of the body is pulling up. Your neck and your jaw are totally relaxed. Your breath, where is it? What's going on with your breathing? Is your breathing smooth and shallow, smooth and deep rather? Or is it shallow and a little bit fragmented? Can you change your breath a little bit? Moving into that fuller, deeper breathing. Let's hold just for 2 more, if that's possible. Beautiful, and then let's let that go. We're gonna uncross this leg. Let's extend both legs, point the toes, hold onto your chair so you don't slide off, and then notice, hopefully your legs are the same length again. I'm looking at my big toes and they're just about the same length. All right, and then bend the knees and sit comfortably in your chair. So for some, that might mean sitting back into the chair a little bit. For others, it might mean staying up close to the front. You can have your hands together. They can be resting together, or they can be apart. The only thing you want to make sure is you're not clasping your hands. You're not creating tension in the fingers. So wherever your hands are most comfortable, whether they're kind of lying together or lying apart, close your eyes. Let's do a quick scan of the body, noticing any tension in your neck, your shoulders. Noticing your arms, your hands. Noticing tension in your chest or your belly or your back. What's going on in your hips and your legs, your knees, your lower legs, your ankles, your feet, your toes. Notice if you're leaning forward. See if you can lean back a little bit. And see if you can visualize your head perched right on top of your shoulders, and your shoulders are right on top of your hips. And let's come back to the breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Where do you feel movement in your body? See if you can pull the breath deep down into the belly. Every inhalation, every exhalation gets a little bit slower, a little bit longer, a little bit deeper. Remember that the breath is quiet. So if there's an intensity to your breathing right now, let that intensity go. As you inhale and exhale, see if you can feel the wave-like movement of breath. It's like waves in the ocean. If you're standing at the shore, you can see the wave as it comes in and then goes out. So that's the way your breath is working. It's like a wave coming into the shore and then receding from the shore. Long, slow, deep breaths. Gentle inhalations, gentle exhalations. Slowing it down and adding a count. So you're breathing in to 4 and out to 6. Breathing in to 4 and out to 6, just like we did at the beginning when we first did our breathing practice. Inhale deep to the belly to 4. Exhale fully to 6. Breathing in to 4 and out to 6. When we lengthen the exhalations a little bit longer than the inhalations, that has the effect of calming the nervous system, so that anxiety or anger or stress or upset, we're actually soothing that emotional state with the longer exhalation. I sometimes think of the exhalation is kind of like blowing on a cut or a boo-boo. I keep thinking like children, right? You blow on the boo-boo And so when you blow on that, it takes a little bit longer and it actually calms things down. And the really wonderful thing that we can understand is that this breathing is with us all the time. This ability to shift into conscious breath, to change the rate of our inhalations and exhalations. That's something that's with you all the time. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to go somewhere to get it. It's always there and it's free. Take your right hand to your chest and then cover your right hand with your left. Feeling the breath move in and out of your body, and maybe taking a moment in gratitude to this breath. This is the one thing we cannot live moment to moment without. So take a moment here just to be grateful for your breath. And then maybe bringing your palms together in whatever expression of gratitude feels appropriate, and just acknowledging the gifts you have in your life. Gratitude for all the things that you've worked for and struggled for. And gratitude for all those things that have been given to you with no effort. And in gratitude to all of you for being here today. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.